It's time for Pawn of the Dead. Join us.
Hello and welcome to Pawn of the Dead, the internet horror film club that nobody asked for. I am your host, Nicholas, and as always, I am joined by the final girl, Natasha.
Hello. If you want more from us, check out our links in the description below. We also have a Patreon. Thanks to our members who have joined. As a member, you get voting power for a movie choice, as well as the first look at our movie lineup each month. As always, don't forget to spread the love by rating and reviewing on Spotify or wherever you listen. Your support means so much to us. On today's episode, we are going to cover 1990's Jacob's Ladder.
Real quick, thank God that you said 1990s. I was really worried because I didn't double check with you that you watched the remake, of which I looked and it has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 3.
Oh boy.
So it's like, oh, I don't think I clarified. I'm not sure. Hopefully she watched the right one.
Yeah, it was a crapshoot at that rate.
Yep.
Yeah, I watched the 1990 one, so we're all on the same page there. It's considered a psychological horror film directed by Adrian Lyne, produced by Alan Marshall, and written by Bruce Joel Rubin. The film stars Tim Robbins as Jacob Singer, an American postman whose experiences before and during his military service in Vietnam result in strange, fragmentary visions and bizarre hallucinations that continue to haunt him. As his ordeal worsens, Jacob desperately attempts to figure out the truth.
So, a little bit of information about the writer of this, Bruce Joel Rubin. Okay, he'd written this film. I believe it was back in He wrote the script for this film back in 1980, 1981. This didn't come out until 90. It was like floating around. A lot of people wanted to make it, but they didn't know how to make it. But he also had another script that was floating around. Both films got made at the same time, basically. The other one starring Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze. You may know this film as Ghost.
Oh.
So he wrote Ghost and Jacob's Ladder, and they came out right around the same time. Which when I first heard that, I was like, "Oh, that's crazy different." And then after watching Jacob's Ladder, shocker, like whatever, I'd never seen Jacob's Ladder. I had heard about it. Hey, if you like Silent Hill, check out Jacob's Ladder. Having now watched Jacob's Ladder, it's like, oh, I can see the connection with the emotional structure of the film. So, What's your history with this film?
Same. This is the first time I had watched it. Jacob's Ladder is one of those movies that you almost feel like you have seen it, but when you sit down to actually view it, you realize that I've only seen maybe like a supercuts version, or Correct. I know some of the very popular frames, but to see the movie as a whole, this was my first time. Yeah.
Like I believe I said on the last episode, when giving out homework, my history with this film was literally seeing the cover of it. The older cover, which is like kind of like a smear shot of Jacob's face, and being horrified as a child. Like it was on VHS and mom's like collection and stuff, and just being like, this looks like the scariest thing that's ever existed. So that was like weirdly in like my like subconscious all the time. Like, oh, maybe I'll watch this. I was like, I don't know, man. It might be like too much for me or something, like just something like from childhood, right? Like I remember that with like Monkey Shines for the longest time, and it's not even a scary movie, but it's just like the monkey on the cover with the little chimey things, and just like that ruined me as a kid. I was like, that looks fucking creepy as hell. That kind of stuff just kind of sits there, where it's like I was scared of that as a child. I imagine like as an adult, for you seeing Child's Play, you know, you're like, this is scary to child Tasha.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be scary, but there's something in like my lizard brain that's holding on to the fact that it probably is.
Yeah, like there was definitely apprehension surrounding when we watched Child's Play. Also, The Wall by Pink
Floyd. Yeah, Pink Floyd.
That's one too where like that I remember watching that music video as a kid, and I've never revisited it because that's so terrifying.
Another one that's like super scary from that like kind of era and stuff that like isn't meant to be scary, but it's like grotesquely like the way it's done is Genesis Land of Confusion. They're all like puppets, but they're like weirdly grotesque, and that's just like you with Pink Floyd and the Wall. I remember seeing it as a kid. I could probably watch it now and just be like, that's dumb, but like fucking Nick, like child Nick, is like, that was nightmare fuel when I was a kid, because it was just like so off-putting looking. It wasn't like Muppets, like they were like more caricatured and stuff, and it was just like very off-putting. But yeah, anyway,
that kind of ties into this really well, because the movie is not scary per se, but there's a lot of like, you don't know what's happening, and that just sits with you and makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, this like I'm not to give anything away about this movie, but going into this, I already knew the ending of the film. Like the idea, like it's been around since 1990. It's one of those things that like, you know, you just kind of, I came across it, right? So I was actually shocked at how captivating and how effective the movie was, even knowing how it ends. I was like, holy shit, like, and we'll get into that in spoiler territory, but yeah. So this was made, like I said, in 1990. What do you think its budget was?
That's a great question.
I know, right? That's why I asked it.
The budget for this movie was $18 million.
The budget for this film was actually a lot more than I thought it was going to be. $25 million. Wow. So I'm like Tim Robbins being in it and stuff. This is before Shawshank Redemption. Actually, when they were like talking about getting him on, they were like, we don't know if he can carry a big film or anything like that. Same with Elizabeth Pena, who plays Jezzy. They're like, we don't know. Like that was kind of a big thing. Like they wanted some bigger actors to really portray these things, to the point where it was like talked about with like Al Pacino and stuff like that, that like these were the kind of names that they were going after. But yeah, they ended up with Tim Robbins, and holy shit, like he acts his ass off. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can't think of a more like give them their flowers acting in a movie that I've seen in a long time. Like I was just blown away by him, because like I always think of him from Shawshank Redemption and stuff like that, you know, which he's great in that as well. Like I'm not saying anything about this, but holy shit. So on its meager $25 million budget, what do you think it raked in 1990? I can kind of give you the, before you give that number, I can kind of give you like what was out and about with horror films and stuff, to kind of give you a little taste of what's going on. Maybe that'll...
Right, give me a hint. This is new.
All right, so Misery came out in 1990. Arachnophobia, Flatliners, The Exorcist 3, Leatherface, Darkman, Child's Play 2, Gremlins: The New Batch. Those are like the horror-ish films, horror adjacent. But like our top 10 films for the year were Kindergarten Cop, Dick Tracy, Die Hard 2, Total Recall, The Hunt for Red October, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
With the costumes?
The original movie. This is what Nick was about at this time. Pretty Woman, Dances with Wolves. Number 2 was Ghost. And for the worldwide box office, number 1, Home Alone. So, interesting year for Mr. Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, and he's so much younger in Jacob's Ladder.
He looks it.
Yeah.
It could have been shot like a little earlier and stuff like that. But he's also uncredited in Jacob's Ladder, because Macaulay Culkin's father, while the movie was being made and stuff, was like, this doesn't really go with the image that I want my son to have and stuff. And I guess he was kind of like a manipulative shithole kind of guy and all this stuff. But yeah, so he had his name removed from the project. I mean, they obviously still got their money and whatnot, but yeah, I was like, holy shit, it's fucking Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah. When I saw the picture, I was like, that looks just like him. And then lo and behold, there he is, looking so cute. Okay, wow, those are big movies.
Yep.
This movie made $93 million.
I wish, and so does the production company, wish that it made that much money. On its $25 million budget, it made $26.1 million. So it did get a little ahead. But I think, personally, that this movie was just, in a way, just ahead of its time. Because how surreal this film is. We're talking about, I believe, I'd have to double check, but this predates Twin Peaks and stuff, which is kind of like America's like huge introduction to like surreal stuff. Like obviously there are surreal things that happened before then, but not for just everybody. So
Right.
Twin Peaks did start on April 8th, 1990. So like right in the same time. So like, you know, and that's something that I love. I love like that, like, is it real? Maybe it's Maybelline. Like, I don't know what's going on. You know, that's like all up in my like crawl right there. I love that shit.
And I was thinking that it would get more because it does more, I guess, more money because it kind of spans that. It's a Vietnam movie. Like that's kind of how it's painted, but it's also this horror movie. Mm-hmm. I was hoping that it would bring in more people.
Oh yeah,
knowing
absolutely.
it that way. But I guess if you're seeing that it's like a surreal horror movie, then that could turn some people away. Because
like it made most of its money its opening weekend, and then it dropped off hard. Oh. So I imagine a lot of people saw like the trailers, like this looks cool, let's check this out. Went, and then like friends were like, so what'd you think? It's like, I don't know, or like, I'm sad.
Yeah, this isn't Rambo.
This is not Rambo, no. All the special effects in this film, though, are all in camera practical, which is fucking insane. Damn. Because there's a lot of like just crazy visuals and pure nightmare fuel. 100% pure nightmare fuel. And I'll just say that it just exists in a hospital. We'll just put it that way for now. So let's see here. I can't give you that. That gives too much. So I'll wait till spoiler territory for that. Okay. So a particularly strong inspiration for both Rubin and Lyne was Robert Enrico's 1962 short film, An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, which was one of Lynn's favorite films. And also the cinematographer Jeffrey Kimball based the film's dream sequences on art of Francis Bacon. So Francis Bacon may come to mind because we went back to Silent Hill, which was also heavily influenced by it. And then if you come to Jacob's Ladder, there is so much when you watch this film that they just picked up and put into those video games. I'm not even close to joking. So like the way that Jacob looks, his army jacket and all that looks exactly like the protagonist, James from the second Silent Hill game. The story, kind, like not the exact story, but like the, is it real, is it not kind of stuff. That's straight up the whole idea, because when they made Silent Hill, the first video game and everything, they were like, we want to make, it's so funny, we want you guys to make a video game for Western audiences. So what did they pick up? Jacob's Ladder, Twin Peaks. Like, it's just the weirdest fucking shit that America had to offer, and that's what they made. But yeah, this film specifically is like responsible for influencing the Silent Hill franchise, the X-Files, the Resident Evil franchise, American Horror Story, Asylum. They even the music video for the 2010 song Nightmare by Avenged Sevenfold is an homage to the famous hospital scene from the film. This movie is so wildly influential, but like so many people just don't realize that it came from this stuff. particularly shaky heads, right?
Yeah.
That's from this. I always thought of Tool and Marilyn Manson and stuff like that. This predates that. That's where this kind of stuff comes from, because when Lyne was making this, and this is straight up the Natasha, like, making a horror film. I want it to just be flashes of stuff that you can't comprehend, because when it cuts away, that what your brain is building is far worse than what you're actually seeing. So we don't want to sit in this. We want it to be flashes of stuff, and it's like, what the fuck was that? That is so much more effective than just, ooh, here's this big creature thing, kind of whatever. Because yeah, there are straight up just horrifying visions in this film, and it blows my mind that I have not seen this film until now.
Right, yeah. This movie does anxiety and loss of autonomy so well. And if you have any fear of like not being in control of yourself, this movie will sit with you for a while, a good while.
Oh man, like yeah, that, like the idea of losing your mind. Like that's the thing, like you as a viewer don't even know if what you're watching is real or what the proper timeline is, or wait, these anachronisms of, well, I thought this piece fit here, but no, maybe it fit. And by the end of the film, it does a really good job of just being like, and here's all the puzzle pieces, snap, there you go. So like it could have been a little more ambiguous at the ending. It didn't have to, realistically, but like as a package, especially being from 1990, like it's insane. Because going into it, I was like, gotta keep in mind, it's 1990. It's almost 2 hours long. Probably gonna be slow. I was captivated the entire fucking time. I was just like in it to win it.
And I think that being in it, how do I want to word this? It bodes well to be that long. And there are some slow spots, but since it jumps and it's not linear, that helps keep you captivated, because you're just waiting for that scene to change almost. It's like that next chapter of, okay, where is he going to be when he wakes up? Or, oh my God, he wakes up and he's a completely different spot. This doesn't make any sense. So you're almost taking a beat or two to center yourself in the movie to then get into the storyline that's happening. And for me, you said all the pieces laid together neatly and nicely. I watched this just like you did, and I needed to go back and do quite a bit of research to make sure that is like, the ending, but then you forget all of the bits because you're trying to make sense of all the bits in real time. You need to go back, and this movie does a lot to watch a second time.
Oh, absolutely.
To understand what you were watching now that you know the ending, because I didn't know how it was going to end.
Absolutely.
So first time through, it was like, what the hell did I just watch? But upon research, you realize how beautifully it all makes sense.
Yeah, I believe you texted me and said, thank you for your PSA going into this film, because I don't know exactly what I texted you. I know that I told you like it's surreal and then like maybe somber or something like that, emotional, something. Like those are the things that I knew the movie played in. And yeah, you always are like, sometimes I just need to know what I'm getting into so I know how to approach it. And that is definitely, like, if someone was like, hey guys, let's have a movie night, unless you're with like, I would honestly say like film snobby people, I wouldn't be like, hey guys, let's have fun and watch Jacob's Ladder. Like, no, this is like, hey, have you ever like, this is like a really fucking rad, like changey film. You gotta just shut up and watch it. That kind of group, yeah. But like, fucking sitting around like joking, like, yeah, you wouldn't. I can't imagine leaving the room, coming back in, and like, so what happened?
Yeah. Your text said Jacob's Ladder is surreal and traumatic.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's about right.
And even so, I watched this without Drew, and I had that same moment of, well, okay, how was the movie? Crickets. Like, it was good. I don't know what to think. This was the ending. Huh.
Yeah. And not to sell my rating out front or anything like that, but I legitimately like cried at the end of this movie. And then like I went upstairs and Steph's like, so how was it? And I was like, I'm emotionally compromised and I'm going to try and tell you this film. And I was like choking up the entire time trying to get it out. And I was like, it's so beautiful. It's so horrifying, but it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So, like I said, all of the film's special effects sequences were filmed in camera. There was no post-production effects. In several scenes of the film, Lyne used a body horror technique in which an actor is recorded shaking their head at low film rates. I believe it was at 4 frames a second, and then they sped it up to like 40 frames a second. So basically what happens is you just see like blurred, it's just cranked up, and I wonder how that was like what he came to with this film, because like I said, like you don't really see that stuff, but it also is very reminiscent of like dream logic and stuff like that, like things that like you dream, like have like these images and stuff that are like indescribable. And that kind of fits in that all the times that you're seeing faces that are, you can't even focus on them, they're distorted and all this stuff, is very reminiscent of that kind of stuff. And I think that that's got to be where he came from, because saying that, you know, like there's dream sequences, but you don't know what are the dream sequences. Like that's right. What's fucking awesome about this movie. So, all right. That's about all I have for pre-production and the like for this film. Do you want to start breaking into it and seeing what maybe you missed, maybe I missed, and
yes,
talk
please.
Freely? All right. So, if this is your first time listening to us, hello and welcome. You have found us at a very interesting point in our film club. If this is your first time listening to us, basically how it works is at the end of every episode, we give out homework. That film will be the next episode. So hopefully you can watch it and come listen to the entire episode next week. If you don't care about spoilers and stuff, stick around. If not, go check out Jacob's Ladder 1990. I believe you have to rent it right now. No?
It's also free on YouTube.
There you go. It's free on YouTube. So, without any further ado, let's crack open this whole fucking shit show of a film. I don't even know how to explain it.
If you'd like to be part of our horror film club, make sure to follow us at Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at Pod of the Dead. All of our episodes can be found at podofthedeadorelse.com or wherever you stream music and podcasts. If you have movie recommendations or questions for us, email us at podofthedead666@gmail.com. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Or else.
With that being said, Natasha, can you give me that 10 out of 10 review?
Yes, sir. Films are a form of entertainment, and when done right, can be channels of compelling messages. They affect us differently, one factor being where we are in our lives. This film hit me deep. Whoever is reading this, go ahead and watch. It's better knowing less. I didn't know a lot about the film, other than it had horror elements and it was real good.
That's about right. That's all I really knew.
Yeah. Then after watching, you can read about it, and I admit I did, and it made me understand the film. I was blown away. I did the same thing. It's almost like I wrote this. This one actually fits me so far. The acting was great, the structure of the film was brilliant, and the mystery was thrilling. All these are top-notch, but it was the story and the message behind it that made the film platinum. I'm very happy that this film was made when it was... I was very happy that this film was made when it was made, and that the story was presented in a well thought out and delicate manner. There were no insignificant scenes just for the sake of it. Each one has a meaning, and I liked that a lot about this film. This movie served as a powerful instrument for me, a gracious reminder of self-reflection. Films can be amazing and, in rare occasions, life-changing. This film will not do that for everyone, but watch it. It's really excellent.
Yeah. Like I 100% agree with that. Like it hit me at a specific time. Not that like am having a time or anything like that, but like the fact of having kids, like like that kind of shit. Like I have kids, so that this movie would not have affected me the same if I would have watched it earlier in my life as it does now. So yeah, like you wrote a really good review there, Tasha. All right. I
feel like we shouldn't even read the 1 out of 10, but for sake of consistency.
Oh well, Tasha's trying to veto out the 1 out of 10. This is a first.
And I would like to say, as I was looking up 1 out of 10s, there were only 3 on IMDb.
That's fucking right. Right. You tell him, Jacob. All right. It's funny to see all the glowing reviews for this movie. Glowing, and this is in quotation marks, meaning anything over 3 stars because you're in the minority. In fact, the movie was a huge bomb at the box office, making less than $100,000 on a $25 million budget. I'm not sure where they got that at all. It made millions of dollars its opening weekend. It got an incredibly low C- rating from audiences polled on cinema scores. At least Ghost, which was written by the same writer, was at times entertaining, but even that one, while popular, descended into extreme silliness with cartoonish ghosts from hell arising from the sewers to come after the bad guy. Jacob's Ladder would have been a lot better had Rubin written it as the nightmare that inspired him, of being trapped in a subway with no way to get out. Instead, he wrote this pretentious turkey. All right.
Pretentious turkey.
I have a feeling that this person just accepted the film on its like surface, because I think that's the biggest thing. Like, if we've said this before and I sound so pretentious saying it, but if you watch a movie expecting Transformers and it's this, you're probably not gonna like it, but if you're looking for something more, especially like in the horror genre in the 90s, you're not getting a lot of depth, especially more independent stuff and whatnot, but like this came out the same year as like Silence of the Lambs and stuff, so you're starting to get that turn, I believe, or Silence of the Lambs came out maybe the year after, but you're starting to get that turn into like, we're really going to lean into like the drama and like the real, it's not all just Freddy Krueger and Jason. Granted, before that, like, you had The Exorcist and stuff like that. Natasha loves The Exorcist, one of her favorite movies of all time. But yeah, it wasn't as prominent, I don't believe. So yeah, if you went out to the cinema and were just like, all right, what's the new horror film? Jacob's Ladder? Oh my God, can you imagine? Hey, Sally, I'd like to take you out on a date. Let's go see this new horror film. I'll pick you up at 8. And then you watch Jacob's Ladder.
Man. And either you're bored or you're just so sad.
Yeah, no one's getting laid at the end of this film. I'm sorry. No, nobody. Okay, so I do have a quote that I wanted to read out before we start getting into it from Bruce Joel Rubin. It's concerning this film. It said, the horror of the movie would be in the revelation that hope is hell's final torment, that life is a dream that ends over and over with the final truth, that life was never real, that we are all creatures trapped in eternal suffering and damnation. That's what his quote about this film was. He was heavily influenced by the Tibetan Book of the Dead when making this. And there is an insane amount of just religious imagery and like through lines throughout this film. I would like to hear what you think of everything before I just ramble.
What I think of everything as a whole, or I need a little bit more context.
Just go.
I appreciated all of the, dare I say, Easter eggs that were placed in this movie. I'm thankful that it wasn't super like while it has like Christian overtones heavily, the way that it's done in this movie doesn't take the, like, that component of it doesn't take the front seat.
Yeah, well, because it deals with angels and demons, but not angels and demons. It deals with these things that people perceive to be angels or demons, depending on how you look at it.
Yes.
Never once is their God, never once is their Jesus, because guess what? Christianity does not own the idea of the afterlife, of, you know, all sorts of like demonic or angelic things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, go on.
Yeah. So exactly like you just said, it like, you know, that his faith is, I think he's Jewish based on his dog tags. So even those little nuggets.
See, I didn't know that. Like, I guess I assumed that he was just Christian but it was all Old Testament names. But
yeah. And I only know that because I did a deep dive. I didn't notice that the first time through. They pointed it out. They pointed out the crucifix with the swords, the prayer beads, all of the books that were laying around his apartment. And the fact that on his dog tags it did say Jewish. So those are things that I picked up after the fact in a lot of cases. But yeah, going back to the angels and demons component, you know that that's a side of it. But like I said, the way that they did it, where like you see the chiropractor as having, just like how I have the light above my head right now. So I didn't pick up on, I kind of had a feeling through that because he was the good guy and he's referred to as like the or the big cherub or something like that through his character. But like, once you see the whole film and see it in its entirety, you realize that there are these differing bodies in the movie, and they just inherently have these other qualities, where for the demons, if you will, they have more specific characteristics, like the bumps on the head and the weird faces and the tails and all of that nonsense. I think that was done really well. I feel like I'm just going to go off on a tangent and just start rambling, but the movie as a whole, if you watch it for face value, it's going to seem like it doesn't make sense. Yes. And you're going to wonder, what's the point of the nurse with the bulbous thing on her head? And, you know, like, he's not like, well, he's saying that, you know, he's gone to this psychiatric facility for years. Why isn't he known? Why is somebody saying, like, all of those things are so many whys to this movie. For me, I didn't leave this movie going, this was stupid. There are so many plot holes. It makes no sense. It was after seeing the ending and seeing, like, we're in spoiler territory. Am I allowed to spoil?
Ruin it all.
When you see the staircase ascending, so like in Christianity, Jacob's ladder is Jacob seeing the ladder up to heaven. Here you go. There's that component of it. Then everything falls into place. A lot of it, I should say, falls into place. And they do the nuggets of information very well, I think, where the bigger picture of like the cherub chiropractor talking about, like, this is what demons are perceived as. I absolutely loved that part.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes. So, okay. Two things about that are, so we've got our chiropractor. Let's see what his name is.
Louis.
Our chiropractor, Louis, right? And we've got Jesse. Okay. And these two characters they are the polar opposite characters in a sense. So Louis does talk about, you know, did you ever read this author? It's surprising that you got your degree and never read him. He'd seen hell and written about it. And this is right after the hospital scene, which we'll talk about right after this.
Yeah. I know, we're getting all over the place.
Well, just like the movie, right? So he's talking about, like, he says that, you know, the hell is not for punishment. Hell is for burning away your memories and freeing your soul. If you're going to hold on to it, these things that are doing that to you, you can perceive as demons or devils. But if you just bear with it and you allow it to happen and just come to terms with it, you'll notice that they're angels freeing you to heaven or whatever, right? And when that happened, my brain clicked to Jesse burning the photos. I was like, holy fucking shit. So, like, if it's to be believed that they're all actually the same, angels and demons, right? Like, Louis and Jesse are the same thing, but they just have different intentions based on the relationship with Jacob, right? Jacob's relationship with Jesse is like of the flesh and stuff, right? Like it's a very romantic, like all this kind of stuff. Literally like, oh, I wanted the best lay ever and we got it, like that kind of thing. So it's very much this thing of like holding on to something. And then his relationship with Louis is all about trust and relax and just let me do to you what I need to do to release you. Like that's literally what a chiropractor does. Like this is stuff that just is like coming to mind as I'm talking. So like that kind of shit is like fucking insane. Like that's so fucking cool that that's the idea behind it, is that all these things are trying to lead him down these paths. Like one of them that I think matters that I didn't hear about, but I find to be very interesting is when he's with Louis and Louis is like, all right, turn to your right. And he's always turning to his left. He's like, your other right. I'm wondering if that's a reference to the right-hand path and the left-hand path, where the left-hand path is like the path to hell. And he's like, no, don't go down like your other right. He's always going left, but he wants him to go right. It's gotta be like, considering
there's gotta be a reason. Yeah.
There's all this symbolism and stuff. And it's like, that's one thing that I was like, oh shit, I think he's like trying, like, that's just a subtle nod to that. Yeah. Fucking mind blowing shit in this film.
Where when if we're going to talk about that and talk about Jesse, where Jesse is seen as a demon in certain cases, or at the very beginning of the movie, let's just say she's kind of a bitch, because it seems as though when you're originally watching it, that she's trying to rip all of these memories away from him. So if he's turning to the right, he's turning to be with Jesse. He's turning to be in left. That. Oh, my bad. That's right.
The other left.
He's turning to stay and to grapple with that, and because there's that scene, and then there's the party scene where she just gets infuriated with him about how he's acting. So that makes sense too. That is starting to come into right. That was something that I was like, I know there has to be a point to it, because otherwise they would have cut that from the movie. Yeah,
they cut 20 minutes of disturbing scenes because of test audiences. That I know that there's like a massive scene that I believe is on the Blu-ray, but I just didn't have the time to watch it, where like it just goes like ape shit, like this like creature with this massive eye comes out of the ceiling and he's like freak, like it's just like more of that hospital shit going further and further and further. But yeah, like it just seems like, yeah, Jesse is her name is Jezebel, right? Like who the fuck names their kid Jezebel? And like all of like, yeah, you've got Eli and Jacob, and
it was
like,
a little on the nose.
100%.
I would have been okay with that.
Well, and so much more.
And Gabriel's the one, like the one that died. Yeah.
Oh, the one that died before you went to Vietnam. So like, what always like with Jesse's character, it always feels like her mask slips. Like she's playing the part of like being like the, for lack of a better term, like the seductress, like girlfriend, like, ooh, you know, all this stuff. And then once he starts veering a certain way, that's when she's just like really cold. I'm not fucking dealing with this anymore. Fucking, if you want to rot here, fine. Because she's not getting what she wants. But then other times she's like, I was really worried about you. I was, you know, all this stuff. Basically trying to coax him more that way, but like once it's not working, it's fuck you, you know. So party scene, right?
Yeah, party scene.
Jesus fucking Christ. We basically see Jesse having sex on the floor with a demon.
And it goes through her mouth.
A horn pops out of her mouth.
Yeah,
it's so like and it's all in flashes. Like you're seeing like wings flutter, and like there's always these like weirdly phallic tails, and it's so like unsettling because you're getting that with the pulsing of like strobe lights and all this sound and everything, and you're basically just seeing it from Jacob's perspective until he loses his fucking mind, starts screaming. They get him home. Oh, what's that? He's got a fever of 106. And then this is so harrowing, like watching her like, don't die on me. We gotta get you in here. And they're like putting him in the bathtub with ice. One of the neighbors that comes to help is Kyle Gass from Tenacious D. It's one of the two guys that's like helping her. But yeah, like just trying to, he's like, you're killing me, like all this stuff. And it's so sad. And I think it's at that point, it flashes. In this scene, I had no idea where I was.
Yeah.
We're back at home, his previous home, with Sarah in bed with the kids. So now we're like playing with this like dream within a dream kind of stuff. And this is where it's like,
or is it a dream within a dream? Was all of that a dream and now this is reality?
Yeah, like I was so like beside myself because I was just like, okay, so we've got this Vietnam narrative where Jacob has been stabbed and shot after shot, like we're kind of like, he keeps saying like, I keep getting these flashes. And with it being Vietnam, you know, there's like a history of like flashbacks and stuff like that. So you're kind of like, okay, maybe the Jezzy timeline is our core timeline. Okay, that's it. We're getting flashbacks of Vietnam throughout this, and he's freaking out about that. Well, now after the tub, he's now with his wife Sarah, and is like, oh, I was having this nightmare and blah 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 and all this stuff, and his son's alive again because you see, and that, oh, we'll get there. Like, so you're seeing that, and then once he gets comfortable and everything, he wakes back up in bed at the house with Jesse. And it's so disorienting, but like in a way that is not like, it's not pushing you away going like, I don't fucking know, this is bullshit.
Right. It just like seeps in and is like a dense fog, because when she was in there after he woke up from the tub and she was like, you know, you melted this much ice, blah blah blah, you kept saying, Sarah, close the window, Sarah, close the window. So then these fucking timelines are overlapping. Yeah, because that was so cool,
because now he's having a fever dream, a legitimate fever dream of his past, which again though is another memory that he's trying to hold on to. This film has a lot of interesting parallels in my head to like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Okay.
Which with Jim Carrey, I don't know if you've ever seen that, where it's basically about going somewhere and having someone erased from your memory. Okay. And throughout that, he's under and they're doing it, and he's grasping at his memories because he's like, oh shit, I don't want this to happen now that I'm in it. I don't, because he's removing an ex-girlfriend. And he's like, no, it's kind of the whole, it's better to love than lost than to never loved at all. And I kept drawing these like kind of similarities to that idea of just like wanting so bad all of these memories or what he thinks is reality at these times. Like when he's in the hospital and Sarah shows up and is like brought the kids and everything, and because he got thrown out of a car and then Santa mugs him. Yeah. But okay. Oh, so much. Okay, so much to talk about. We're slowly getting linear. We're getting somewhere. I don't know. I think the thing that's important is always just doing this. Okay, let's talk about the hospital scene. Let's do that. Okay, so the hospital scene, I'm going to let you start it and I'll fill in, but the hospital scene is what this movie is known for. This is like the thing for this film. What did you think of the hospital scene, Natasha? I can see where Silent Hill came from. 100%. And the slow ratchet of anxiety. Like I can feel it in my face right now thinking about it, because this is where, and a lot of times when I'm watching a movie, I fall into that movie. This, I didn't. I was sitting there so sad and so scared for Jacob. Yes. Not like, what would this feel like if I were in this? I was rooting for him and so sad watching him just plead in some cases, and other cases just being so out of it and so disoriented that he doesn't know. He's asking questions. He's responding, and just the cold response from the doctor. Oh God, how yes. That was done. So I'm not even talking about the visual right now, just the pure emotion of, where am I? Well, this is where you're supposed to be. You're dead. I'm not dead. Well, or like that whole thing. Well, yeah, then
I don't want to be here. Yeah, I don't want to be here. Okay, well, where do you want to be? Like, I want to be home. This is your home now. Just those answers with zero emotion.
Very clinical.
Very matter of fact. This is what's happening. We're just going to keep moving on. Business as usual. The fear and the tension that small bit over the whole thing built was very overwhelming in a lot of cases. And then when you tack on just the increasing degradation of the building. Yeah. And how it
goes from being a normal hospital to we got to take him to X-ray.
Right. What the fuck?
What hospital are we going to?
So my first, there's so many questions at first, and then you're just like, oh shit, this is bad news. So normal room. Yeah. At first you're like, okay, why is he all strapped in? Okay. He has a back injury. Okay, cool. Got to take him for x-rays. Okay. Why is the paint chipping? Why, even before that, why are they coming from outside down a hallway?
Why are they in a basement that has no electricity?
Right. So all of these whys, and then you see what looks like a very bad psychiatric hospital.
Yeah.
And then you see all of the faces shaking and the guy banging his head, and it's just a ring of blood because who knows how long he's been doing that.
Just up against glass.
Mm-hmm. And then he's strapped on a bed, so he's looking straight up to a grated ceiling with mutant people.
Yeah,
crawling around.
Yeah, you've got people that look like they've either missing legs or have very small legs, crawling on their hands, and it's just this horrifying scene of just what am I looking at? And that's the biggest thing is you at that point are Jacob just going, what the fuck? Because it takes that turn so hard. And
but it does take it hard, but not enough to be jarring.
No, because it's slow. It's slow. You're like, what the fuck? Why are we in a basement? What the fuck? Why are we in a psych ward? What the fuck? What kind of psych ward has chain link fencing above it where people are at? And there's a lady breastfeeding a doll and all this weird stuff. And then, oh God, there's blood on the walls.
A curtain.
Yeah. We're pushing through body parts that are all over the floor, which I think is kind of that, drawing that line to Vietnam and all of that kind of stuff. And it just keeps getting more grotesque. It starts turning into almost like a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
Wheels them into that room. And then the doctor is covered in blood. Everybody else is fine, but the doctor that you were speaking of earlier, covered in blood and just super cold. And fucking you get okay, give him the shot, and the person that's given the shot, their eyes are completely there's no eyes. It's just horrifying. A huge fucking needle through the forehead.
Jesse's there.
Yeah, for no fucking reason. It's just what is going on? But at the same time, it's these angels or demons ripping apart. He's holding on, wanting to understand, but that's not what we're here to do. We're here. You are currently in hell. We are stripping away your memories to free your soul, which you don't understand. And we're not in the business of explaining to you what's going on. But hell is the basement of this hospital, essentially. You know, it's fucking crazy. The shots that it keeps dropping to the wheels, and that one wheel just keeps spinning and everything. They did that on purpose, where he said that he wanted one of the wheels a little shorter, so it kept spinning because it was just uncomfortable, because it would catch and just throw, catch, and just keeps that anxiety up of, you're just God, fuck. There's no reprieve from what you're seeing in this 5-10 minutes, very short spot of this film, and it's the most horrifying thing in the film. Realistically, it is. If you took that out of the movie, I think you could get away with saying this isn't a horror film as much as it is a very sad drama of playing on life and death, right? But that scene is so fucking dark, and I would be online as depraved even. It is hell.
Yeah, and if you're watching it not really getting those themes, then it does seem almost disjointed of a descent into madness maybe. But then after that, doesn't he wake up and he's seeing Sarah?
Yes, I believe that's when Sarah comes, or no, I think that's when Louis comes and frees him.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, because like that's him, and it doesn't make
get you out of here.
And it doesn't make sense why he's so mad or why he's like, this is barbaric and all this stuff, unless you understand the fact that what he's talking about is how they're stripping his memories.
Yeah,
it's not about his leg being hoisted up in a bed. Because like watching it, I'm like, why is he so fucking pissed? You know, like, like I don't get it. And then it ends, and I did a little bit of research like you did to kind of really like, okay, I get that he's dead, and these are like the remnants, and I get the memory aspect of it because he does have that little conversation, and then the end of the movie you get that conversation brought back up to like, in case you missed it, you know. Sometimes you just gotta kind of bear with it and you'll be freed, you know. So it holds the viewer's hand a little bit there, but at the same time, a film like this, trying to make money on it, you gotta hold their hand. If you didn't have like some of those exposition spots, goddamn, like I can't imagine how confusing this film could have been without that.
Yeah, I appreciated the reiteration for that exact reason, because you're so in it, so trying to figure out, you don't know what to decipher from what.
Yeah.
And then to see it and be like, okay, this is what I was thinking at one point in time. Don't remember when. But, but we're on the same page.
Well, because there's like, so the idea of the cars chasing him and then he gets pulled into the car, that's the car basically that kills his son, right? So there's a lot of chaos that's built into that. But then the guys that pull him into the car and everything, and they're like, you know, the army was a different life. Like, there's so much that's thrown at you so quick that every single thing that, like, every bit of dialogue in this movie and every scene in this movie matters, like, legitimately matters. But I still don't understand what every piece of it, but like every time you hear something, you're like, that is a reference to something. That is definitely a reference to something. If I watch this again and I keep that in mind, I'll be able to draw a line from point A to point B somewhere in this. Just like I was saying, like it may be obvious to a lot of people, but like the photos going into the fire, that's very early in the film. And then you get the whole idea of like, oh no, it just burns away your memories. It's such an awesome way of doing it because they're so far apart in the movie at that point that like it just seems like, well, what a bitch. Why is she burning his memories? Like, you're literally thinking like, those are his memories. Why would you do that? Oh, because Louis here's going to tell us why. Louis, come on in. Hey, Fat Man Louis here. You know, but because
she just looks like an insensitive person trying to be with somebody who has PTSD. But that's not her role. And she's just not doing it so well. And another little thing that you were talking about with the car and maybe not remembering that car was what killed his son. You also hear him talk about his wallet and needing to, like when he's in the hospital, where's my wallet? Santa stole it.
Through his teeth. Santa, I've got to get him. I just fucking love that.
And he's talking about the picture that he put in there. So there's still something that he's holding on to. But Santa was the person to get rid of the picture.
He understands what he's talking about. The fucking nurses or whatever they're taking him are like, this guy's fucking nuts. Like, that's when they're like, we got to take him to fucking psych, you know? But
did you notice the bike that he also sees?
When he's down there and that's the bike that he rides and everything. And I was blown away that like when you see like, you know, Macaulay Culkin drop his cards and everything, you hear the wheels screech, and I thought that was it. You end up seeing the car on the bike, and I was like, good fucking God. Like, you don't see Macaulay Culkin's body, but like they show you like the carnage that is done and everything. I was like, God fucking damn it. Okay, I want to try and get my body ready for this. Okay.
You gonna do the ending?
we're gonna get to the ending here. Not trying to rush through this, but I just want to kind of get this. So
get that over with, and then I have an overarching theme I want to talk about.
Cool. So the ending is he gets out of a cab and goes up to a building that we have not really seen, and the doorman knows him, calls him Dr. Singer, I believe, and everything. So this is kind of the life that he kind of wished that he was going to have, or whatever. Like, because he goes, like, Louis even makes the statement of, you know, like, got your doctorate only to work at the post office and everything. And he's like, after Vietnam, I just didn't want to think anymore. Believe me, I can understand that. Like, going through a bunch of shit and everything, just being like, you know what? I just want to fucking do my job and go home. Like, I don't want to have to think about this shit. So he goes in, and it's this, like, very beautiful, like, apartment, I guess, like 2-story apartment, and it's just dark. And he's sitting there on the couch, and he's kind of having some flashes of his family and all this stuff. And you get Louis' monologue come back, or not monologue, is like little exposition about, you know, they may seem like devils, you know, if they're ripping away the memories and all this stuff. And you see him kind of just like, fuck. And he bows his head down and everything. It goes dark for a second, and he lifts his head, and it's actually light in the room now. And you hear the music box that Macaulay Culkin's character Gabe is playing. He gets up, he's a little like concerned, walks in, sees Gabe sitting at the bottom of the staircase. And this is the part of the movie that was so gut-wrenching to me. It's not what's said, it's how it's done. So Jacob walks up to Gabe, and Gabe hugs him. Because there's a specific way that a parent hugs a child, right? You bring the child in, that's what Gabe does to Jacob. He brings him in and is like patting him on the back. It's like, it's all right. Like, that is, I'm like tearing up right now.
Yeah.
It's so fucking like after everything we've seen, like you were talking, like, I feel bad for Jacob. I feel so bad. He's finally getting his peace, right? And then he's like, come on, Dad, let's go upstairs. And it's real bright upstairs, you know, it's the stairway to heaven. That's where the film ends. There's like a little thing at the end. It's like the, you know, Vietnam and the BZ drug and all this stuff. Like Vietnam, there's all sorts of drugs that were tested on our own units and stuff like that. And that's something that they kind of tie a little bit into the movie, where he wouldn't even know this stuff, right? Because like he's got this whole meeting with a chemist that was like trying to like basically made this LSD that made fucking psycho killers. Let's just put it that way, right?
Yeah. And
that's what their group got doused with, and then they killed each other, and that's how it is. He wouldn't know that realistically, so that is kind of like a what? It makes for an interesting narrative, but like that's like the one puzzle piece that just you had to hit with a hammer to fit in. But yeah, just like it's specifically Gabe consoling Jacob that I was just like, oh, and I just started crying because it was like that whole thing of like, you know, you see him, it's like, oh, there's Gabe. Okay, I kind of get what's going on, because at this point, you know, like for a pretty big deal that it's like he's dead. Like you see that happen. Well, it doesn't end. It then cuts to Vietnam, and the doctors are like, because after Jacob's like getting consoled, or Jacob is getting consoled by Gabe, you're hearing like a heartbeat, and it's flashes of his life, and then the heartbeat stops, cuts to the doctors of Vietnam going like, we lost him, he really put up a fight though. And then what was his name? Singer Jacob. They give the dog tag and they walk out and everything. You just kind of sit there with it and everything. And like when he dies, he's got a smile on his face and everything, and it's just like, it's so beautiful. Like what was the Mist like stuck the landing. This is another one that just stuck the fucking landing so hard. And like I said, I already knew that like he was dead all along. I knew that coming into the movie. I did not expect to be fucking gutted by Macaulay Culkin hugging Tim Robbins at the end of this movie. Like that was the thing. Like it was, that's like the direction of this movie that's so subtle, but so fucking effective that they do the entire film. Every little body, like when he's getting adjusted, he's like, no, we're going to get you to stand now. What? Hallelujah. Like, I got you. We're good. Like all of that kind of stuff is just like, God damn. And I'm an atheist, all this stuff. I do really like this kind of stuff though in my films, when it's not so sugar coated and everything. It feels genuine. It feels like it does have meaning and everything, which I do really like. Specifically like the idea of they're not angels, they're not demons, they're the same thing depending on how you look at it, is how you see them. I fucking love that shit.
Yeah.
But oh my god. Okay. Let's hear your overview. What do you got? What's your thing?
I almost I feel like we could just leave it. Like, it was so good. I don't want to dive back into it.
No, I want to hear the grittiness.
Because we're going to get kind of surreal and existential and scary.
That's what I love. That's what the people are here for. They're not here to listen to Nick well up talking about Macaulay Culkin.
So beautiful, though.
I know, right?
I was thinking about it in a sense of the memories, and even knowing like what's real memory wise. I was listening to something on a different podcast kind of talking about this, and it made me really think, and it's scary too to think like, okay, we're getting rid of our memories. They're ripping away our memories. But as you think about memories, they're distortions of what we've already lived through based on how we're feeling in that moment too. Correct. So then if you think about this movie, like you're already wondering what's real. He is a unreliable narrator to begin with.
100%. The most unreliable narrator.
Yeah. And then there's a deeper level of, are these memories, and this isn't necessarily for the movie, but it's something that after I heard this analysis of it has kind of stuck with me too. This has a lot of similarities to Talk to Me in the psychology of how the movie sits. So thinking about it, and like, you know, what happens after life, but also what happens during this whole movie of you have the layer of memory, and then you have the layer of are these memories even accurate memories? And then you start to think about yourself of your own memories.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where the spiral is starting.
Yeah, it's the whole thing of perception is reality. We all live in our own realities based on our own perception. The idea that there is, for every person that has ever met you, there's a different you that exists because their perception of you is who you are to them. You are only you to you.
But you're not even you to you, because how I perceive something that happened to me isn't necessarily how it happened.
No, but what I'm saying is like what you think you are only matters to you. You are only you to you. Because this is just a fucking jumble. Because
this is why I didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah, because you to me, you are built on a different platform. Like there's a different perception of you. There's a different history. Even though we have had the same experiences together, my perception of that experience is different than your perception of that experience because of every nuanced thing.
And take it even more insular. Thinking of Jacob, his history has changed. Our memories of what we've experienced have changed. Our perception has changed. Our memories are no longer the same because our memories are a memory of a memory of a memory.
Tasha is like doused in LSD right now. If you could see her right now, she has the tinfoil hat on. She's like,
basically.
Guess what? None of these people exist. No, all of these people exist, and they all want their fucking mail.
But do they?
Yeah. No.
Or were they just people that popped up and he's creating this memory in his subconscious that never really existed? Because post-Vietnam never happes.
Correct. So like it literally, well, no, because there's the idea that Gabe died before Vietnam. So the Sarah and the three kids exist. Like we are led to believe that. But Louis doesn't.
No.
Louis doesn't exist.
No, Jesse does. That life does not exist.
Nope, the post office does not exist.
Memories.
Yeah.
We're seeing them as memories, but they're not memories because he was never there.
Oh my God, my brain.
Exactly. So did he ever work? Because it's perceived that, or it's alluded to that he was a doctor pre-Vietnam, but he? Did he just get his PhD?
Yeah, that was the thing. Because, God, no, or did he get his doctorate afterwards? Or no, I think he got it before, and then he went to Vietnam, and then he says, but after Vietnam doesn't exist, after Vietnam, he didn't want to think anymore.
Right.
So, yeah. Oh,
because they call him Doc in Vietnam, so he already has that.
Well, they call him Professor.
Or Professor, there we go.
Yeah.
And when, he's talking about his dream, he was like, yeah, I had this dream that I was like with Jesse from the post office. So, like, I think that Jesse is just someone that he's maybe been attracted to, And that's why their relationship in his, quote, memories are so sexualized. But yeah, none of that exists. So these memories aren't memories.
She had great thighs.
And she's always showing her tits.
Yep, always. What was it? Yeah, because it's the idea. This is something that's, it doesn't really matter, but I find it be interesting. The idea that your brain can't make up a face. Every dream, every memory that you have that you put a face to, even if it's not someone that you know, and you like come up with this idea of a face, it is someone that you have seen in your life. So like the idea of Jesse could be multitudes of different people that was just constructed, like the attitude of this person with the face of this person, you know, all that kind of stuff is just, it literally is this entity, right?
Yeah.
That has taken on all of those memories and just basically been for lack of a better term, his devil, his personal devil that's going to make him suffer through all of this. Realistically, just because that's what she's into. But it's like, it's one of those things where it's not so maniacal. It's not like, yes, you will suffer. It's just done in this way. It's like, this is what I do. And that makes it so much like more visceral. It makes it so much scarier, where like when you're talking about the doctor just being cold about it, like, no, this is what we do. It's so much more fucked up.
I agree.
Instead of having like a mustache twirling, I'll get you later.
It's like they're not getting any gratification out of it. It's just, this is business as usual. This is what I do. And that shows you that there's like zero hope of getting out of that situation. Yeah. When there's no emotion tied to it.
Well, and that's where Ruben said, like, and this is so, like, I've heard this kind of stuff before, though, but like, hope is hell's final torment. The idea that hope is like it's a fool's errand kind of thing. Like having hope is like the worst thing because it just makes the suffering worse and everything.
I'm glad you went back to that quote, because when you were talking about the very ending, it kind of, I had that quote kind of in my head, but I couldn't remember the whole thing of it, where he's sitting at the house and kind of almost like waiting for his family to show up.
Yep.
And I guess that hope quote also ties into when he's seeing all of his other Vietnam buddies, where they're trying to come up with a solution.
Not just
and then
me.
that gets washed. Yeah.
Yep. And it's one of those things. It's not just me, but because like every single time something you're like, yes, Jacob's getting it, it gets fucking worse instantly. Yeah. And that's that thing. Like, it's just like, you know, okay, yeah, it's not just me. Oh, fucking his friend blows up in the car, and it's almost like that friend of his, well, not almost, like it 100% is, that friend of his that he's seeing is another devil, because when he sees him like turn the key, he looks at him and smiles and blows up, and it's just that torment, that fucking torment, and it's, oh my god, like that, layer after layer after layer.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Shrek and onions and Jacob's ladder. They all have layers.
What a great parallel. This
I know,
movie's
right?
like Shrek.
Yeah. Okay. Hey guys, you like Shrek? But in Jacob's ladder. And I was never asked to babysit ever again. All right. Are we ready to get into review territory?
I think so.
All right. So I'm gonna let you start it. And I think that you're going to give this film, I'm swinging for the fences on this. I think you're giving it a 9.
I'm giving it an 8.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Purely, I don't think this maybe is fair, but after watching it, it wasn't something that I grasped just by the movie.
Okay.
So that's why. I liked that there was the need to go back and dig. Yeah. And that's just a me thing, where it'd be cool if I watched it and got it all just in a neat little package, but that is what it is. I'm giving it an 8. This is one that I would recommend to people. I do plan on watching again. And when I recommend, it'll be something that will have a little caveat to it of pay attention. It's kind of like Long Legs in that of, you're not going to get it or you'll get a little bit of it if you watch it straight through and are kind of half-heartedly watching it. But if you want to know all of it, pay attention. Pay very close attention.
It's one of those things where like you'll miss all the yarn. like attaching point A to point. Like there's all these other things. You can get the story. Oh, he was dead all along. Okay, that's sad. But that's not the movie. Like that's the thing. It's like that's just the cover of the movie, you know.
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to go too in detail because that was what this whole episode was about. I feel like we were both waxing poetically about this movie, harkening back to what I originally said, and I still hold true with. I love how it was done, a angels and demons concept. This is the biggest part of that I loved about it. Angels and demons concept that wasn't framed as a Christian movie slapping you in the face about heaven and hell and the descent into hell. That's all I really have to say. Jacob was a beautiful character. I felt for him. I cried for him. I loved Tim Robbins in this film, and to know that he was able to go on and do Shawshank and other things, because I believe from what I read, he was a comedic actor before this, and knowing that he had only done comedy and then got thrown into this, that I think, like, yes, like you said, he deserves so many flowers for killing it in this movie, and especially being able to portray so many different layers of this movie and storylines almost. So good. Yeah. This movie is the type of movie that I want to watch more movies like this.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing that keeps blowing my mind is this was from 1990.
Yeah.
Like it feels like, granted, like if you're in this area, you're in spoiler territory, and we've kind of spoiled the movie, right? Yeah. It still, you have to watch it.
Yeah.
Like you can have it spoiled. It does not affect. We did not do it any service, right? And if you're in the spoiler territory and stuff, you had it, you know, you're just like, fuck it, I don't give a shit. Like, I just like listening to them or whatever. If you like, you know, like the more artsier A24 films and stuff like that, this is A24's granddaddy. Like I'll just throw that out there. And this isn't like I'm not a fucking film historian and everything. You can come at me and be like, well, actually, Dr. Zhivago's and all that. That's fine, whatever. I don't care. But like 1990, we still had shit like this. Like, you know, I don't think of the 90s as like a really good era for horror films and stuff. But this is fucking great.
It holds up, man.
Before I give my score and all that jazz, you said you cried. How many times did you cry? I only cried once at the end.
I got welled up as he, like in the hospital scene. And I didn't cry. I welled up twice. The very end. And honestly, not at the scene where Gabe is hugging Jacob. I cried when I saw him on the table.
Oh, okay. At
the very, very end. For some reason, that just hit me. Yeah.
When the movie ended and I shut it off, I was just like, all right, you can let it out. And I like ugly cried. I literally like was just like down in the basement. I'd shut the lights off, was getting ready to go upstairs. I was like, I will ugly cry in front of people, so I better just do it down here. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm good. And it wasn't like a thing of like, I'm so sad. It was just like that emotional buildup. I was like, I just got to let it out and then I can move on with my day. Like I'm just down here in the basement like, so sad. Okay. Oh shit, I'm gonna have to tell Steph about the movie. I think I can get through that. I choked up through the whole thing of that. And then I was fine. Like, but yeah, a very, very emotionally effective film.
There's a movie, I'll tell you, I'll just give you a review and then I'll give you.
Well, you got to guess what I'm giving it.
You're giving this a 9.5.
I wish I could give it that high. I don't know why I'm scaling it back, but I am giving it a 9. This movie, I'm looking to find a poster of it to frame and put in my basement. Goddamn, like this is all the things. I can't think of a reason other than like the on the noseness of some of the scenes that keeps it from being a 10. Like that's like there's just some parts that it's just like, okay, like get it, but like I really like this movie. I'm very interested in seeing what those extra 20 minutes would be that just like makes it more disturbing. But yeah, I can't not give this a 9. Like I am very excited to watch it again. I hope I don't cry because I've already seen it. Can't cry. Like there's interesting movies that make me cry. Like this one's there. The first movie I remember crying to was Terminator 2. when he goes down into the molten metal. I was like, oh no, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you're dead. But oh my god, I'm dying over here. But yeah, like 9 out of 10. You're giving it a what? An 8.5?
I'm giving it an 8.
An 8? An 8 and 9. IMDb gives this film a 7.4.
Okay.
So my math, real quick, I'm believing this is giving us like an 82.
Damn, dude. An 81.3. You are so good.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at this stuff. So, Hall of Fame. This is a Hall of Fame movie, and if it wasn't a Hall of Fame movie, I would just quit the podcast, because what are we fucking doing? This movie's, it's surreal.
Scores mean nothing.
Yeah, I know, right? It's surreal. It's fucking creepy when it needs to be creepy. It's emotionally like charged. The dialogue in it's good. Every fucking scene matters. Every character does their part, whether you like them or not. They all fucking work. Like, we didn't even talk about the train scene. We didn't talk about how early in the film you're going, what the fuck? There's a homeless person sleeping on the train, and it's like tails coming out, and you don't know what that is at the beginning.
Right.
It's so fucked up. This movie is goddamn great. That being said, guess what's for homework next week?
Oh no.
Thanks, Patreon. We're watching Ghost Ship.
All right.
So we'll be watching Ghost Ship to finish out our trilogy of 13 Ghosts, House on Haunted Hill, and now Ghost Ship.
Okay.
So I honestly have never watched this. You haven't either? Okay. But it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Your nostalgia from these films is 13 Ghosts, of which I did not so much care for. And you can go back and listen to that episode. My nostalgia for these films is House on Haunted Hill, which I liked. And you were not so much.
I did not like it. Yeah.
Neither of us have history with this film. So if you like Ghost Ship, I'm probably going to apologize ahead of time. I'm going in with an open mind, but it definitely has a track record. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah. If we didn't watch it when we were preteens or teenagers, there's a solid chance we won't like it now.
But I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to have so much fun with this movie. God, I really hope I like it. All right.
I have a tiny recommendation corner, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Movie. Everyone needs to watch this movie. It's not a horror movie. It's a drama. It has Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield in it. You were talking about ugly crying. This movie made me. It's called We Live in Time. It's a new A24 movie that just came out. It's on streaming, I believe Netflix. But it's a love story about Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield, and they have a kid, and she gets sick. And I don't want to say too much, but holy shit. I was like, I couldn't breathe. I was crying so much at the very end of it. And then I went to go tell Drew about it because I just needed security after I watched it. And I just like curled into him. He's like, what's going on? And then I personally couldn't get through the retelling of this movie. And how you mentioned it, it's beautifully tragic. That movie is beautifully tragic.
Oh, man. I'll have to tell you. You have to text me that, because I'll have to tell Maya, because she likes those kind of films that are just like, you know what I want? I want to watch a couple just be ravaged by cancer. And it's just like, that's so fucking depressing. I don't want to watch that shit. She's like, I love it. I'm just like, good fucking God, girl.
Yeah, then she'll love this movie.
Yeah, just send me that, and I'll be like, Tasha says that this movie made her bawl forever, and it sounds like it's up your alley. So
yeah.
All right. Do I have anything?
Anyway,
I don't think I have any recommendations. My recommendation is make sure to drink your water, come back and listen to us. So
I like it.
For Pot of the Dead, I'm Nicholas.
And I'm Natasha.
Come back and listen to us, or else.